Hello, everyone, and welcome to class. I am Rachel from Sam's Bead Shop, and I'm so excited to be joined today by Cynthia from Green Girl Studios. Hi, Cynthia.
Hey Rachel, how's it going?
Doing well. I'm so excited to have you. We're going to create with some of your incredible artisan components that you design and make in North Carolina, and I'm so excited to show these off. You've been doing this kind of work for a long time, right? This is your specialty.
Yes, I've been doing this for I tease my daughter and I'm like, I'll say another 10 years and she's like, "Mom, you've been doing this from before I was born and I'm 20."
Yeah. You're like, I
It's
just started. Come on.
it's getting to be a lot of years of doing this in business for probably now 26 years. That
It's
actually,
amazing.
how old am I? I'm 50, so I started when I was probably 22, so it's actually more than
Yeah, you're
more.
gonna have to have a you're gonna have to have a 30th business anniversary party pretty soon. Not too
Oh,
long.
better.
We'll celebrate with you because if you guys don't know, Google Studios, you and your family create and design these incredible pieces that just have a very whimsical, magical quality to them. Like each of them, to me, really tells a story. That's what like draws me to all your pieces.
Oh, thank you. I am very inspired by folklore and mythology and the natural world plays in. So that sort of combination of whimsical fantasy
Yeah.
mixed with botanical influence.
Yeah.
So, it's
That's
kind of,
what I see.
I think that the culture that I grew up in, where my mom is from the Philippines, she collected a lot of things that had cloisonne and
Mm,
mosaic and a lot of it's kind of 70s, that rococo look where everything was kind of spray painted gold.
yeah.
She loved it. So I have a tendency to be drawn to things with a lot of looping, flowing, wave like designs. So I think that kind of played a big part of it. And you kind of see it in some of the
Yeah.
pieces down there, like the
They're
that fairy has a little bit of that.
It's
And
like
for
these little
sure,
collectibles.
yeah. And so one of the things I like to do is make a piece that has as much detail as I can pack in. I
Yeah.
used to, now I grew up in the 80s with charm bracelets. I don't know if you ever
Mm-hmm.
charms for charm
Oh
bracelets,
yeah.
but it was always kind of, to me, I just never liked it when I'd get a charm and it would be like a cat, but the cat would be flat on the back. And I'd be like, it would have been so much, how much effort
Yeah.
would it have taken to detail the backside of this cat, you know?
Yeah.
And so I like, or like when a piece flips over where you're wearing a necklace and
Mm-hmm.
pendant flips. You don't want to see the back of the pendant and it's just plain, it's nice to flip it. And it's like, kind of like I went to art school and studied sculpture.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized right away after I left that it's actually really expensive to cast bronze sculpture because I don't know if you know this, but they charge you by the weight.
And sculptures can get pretty big.
And my sculptures were big and they got smaller and smaller and smaller until I
Mm,
realized, man, this is getting small. What am I going to do with this? I mean, this is like a Monopoly piece. And, and then it occurred to me, hey, I mean, it's like a jewelry component. You can carry it with you. So it's like portable
yeah.
sculpture. So that's where
Yeah.
if I'm going to make sculpture, I'm not going to make it flat on the, just plain or whatever. I want it to be sort of like something that, you can take it with you. And it harkens back to our original roots, our ancient roots of the very first things that people created were beads. And
Mm,
it's true. Before we ever made sculpture or even
yeah.
painted, we carved bones and rocks and decorated ourselves before we ever had homes to decorate. So it's
Yeah.
like, we're going back deep in connecting with our ancestry and like every one of us. I think it
Yeah.
hits on a primal level.
Yeah.
People will say, I never liked beads before, and until I just went into a bead store and just started touching them. So I think it's
Mm-hmm.
like in our DNA almost.
Yeah. I love that idea of a portable sculpture. I love that imagery. So today we are launching a line of your beads. You make all different types of pieces for jewelry. You have pendants and buttons and links, a lot of elements, but we haven't had that many of your beads in the shop. And so we're going to show some off today, and you're going to teach us, give us one idea for how people might use that in our design. So yeah, all of these, they're a bead. They all have a hole going through them. I showed a little bit, but we have like the fairy, the dragonfly, the more abstract swirls, this kind of castle, sort of fairy tale land. And then the one that we're going to use today is this adorable owl. It's almost like a round bead. I love how it looked, just like, it's so cute.
You know, I didn't want to put, I don't know why I did that with two. I mean, I have beads. I have a lot of owls, but that one, I thought, I want this to be an owl on both sides. So it does flip, it's not the back of the owl's head. I have plenty where it's a regular, just smooth on the back.
Yeah, you do both. So we're going to take that, and then since this is a collab, we had to send Cynthia over some gemstones. So we sent her this selection here, some of these amethyst faceted rounds, the kyanite sticks, the rhodochrosite, and the amazonite. So we're thinking you can bring these together. I don't know, what do you think of these colors together? The blues, the pink, the purple. There might be something.
I am going to use all of them today. I'm going to use it in the kit. And I'll talk a little bit about proportion and how to make, one of the best ways to bust out of a creative rut is to take a kit with you that somebody else made that you didn't pick yourself. See, this is the key. If you usually pick all the same stuff that you're drawn to, which all guilty of it. I mean, I love me some labradorite, and if it's going to be, I'm going to have labradorite in my kit. And so one of the things that's great is I'll get a kit from Kate, or I'll get one from Abby, and it won't be in my colorway, but guess what? That forces me to look at things differently than I usually do. And it kind of inspires, just a different way to work. And I think that discomfort with working with beads that you might not usually pick, because you sent me some sticks, I don't usually use sticks. Yeah. And so when I looked at those, I was like, wow, okay. I have a few choices.
Challenge. Yeah, give you some regular beads.
Right.
They are top drilled, which I think is cool.
Yeah, they're top drilled, but a lot of times with those beads, and I have some of those in an orange, but they were a little bit different. They're really skinny and thin. Yeah. Kind of like a shard. And they sat in my collection. They just sat. Yeah. I didn't know what to do with them. So I am now forced to come up with exactly what I was talking about. Like, I know that I have some and they've been sitting in a bag, but when you're put on the spot, like right now, like there's no, I'm going to go run upstairs and go get something that I'm comfortable using. Yeah. And so this is good if you go on a trip. So go on a trip and you only have that. You can't go. It's like your own design challenge. You know, you're like,
you gotta have limitations if you want to be creative. It really helps.
You're working within the parameter of what you have, and that people will say, because I've had some ideas that I was like, I don't know where this came from, but and people would say, hey, how did you and I'd say, you know what happened? I was at a bead show and I forgot my whole kit. And I had to depend on the kindness of my neighbors and what was in my wallet before the show starts. So you're not flush with cash running around buying all your favorites. You're like, okay, I got $20. What am I gonna buy? What's your specials? And so I'd have to make a sample to put, because sometimes when you just have a bead sitting out and you're like, look, my new bead. People are like, oh, that's cute. But they don't have, there's no ideas. So you generally, to launch a new bead, you need to have some ideas to show people, hey, look how good this looks. And so that's part of it, is having the ability to turn. And, it's kind of like a mental exercise or a puzzle. Like when you're, learning, like playing chess, you're having to look at things in a certain way where, it's maybe not exactly in a straight line. You're like, okay, I maybe have to go around and use, maybe I might have to get different wire. you know?
Yeah.
So how about we
Cool.
flip the camera around and
I think
we take a look at the board and see what's happening.
let's do it. All right. Cynthia's going to get her workspace all set up. And actually, this is good because now you guys can see everything up close. So these beads, just so you guys know, are all sold separately. We don't have like an official kit or box. This way you can choose what you would like, whichever ones of the stones that you would want to pair together, you can purchase right here in the shop. So the amethyst, the kyanite, the rhodochrosite, or that amazonite, whatever one interests you. And if you want to, have all four and make your own little kit, you are absolutely welcome to. And definitely check out all the new Green Girl today. So Cynthia, let me know when I should add you back on.
Okay, I'm nearly there. I'm just getting my thing situated where it is not, I don't like it when I'm working and I have a cockeyed, what do you call it, when you're
Yeah, you got to get it all parallel.
I like it to be straight, so I don't want it to be. And then it's funny because I'm sitting here, it's a reverse. So I don't know.
Yeah. Everything's the opposite. It's confusing.
I'm moving it, but it's going the other way. All right, let's see. I feel like that is pretty centered.
All right, let me take a look here.
Am I centered?
Let's see. It looks pretty good. It's pretty close.
Yeah. I'm trying to get this where it's really perfectly centered.
Tell us, what is your idea for using this, this owl piece and incorporating these gems? What kind of design are we doing today?
Well, I am going to make a tassel type design, and I am going to see if I feel like my camera's reversed, and that's going to make me, how do you say it when you get, mirror my camera. I don't want it mirrored. There we go. Because I was like, why is this happening to me? There we go. No, I'm good. Because it's like, what is happening? You know when you're looking in the mirror and you're trying to adjust a necklace?
Oh yeah, if it's the opposite, that's true.
Yeah, I had the mirroring was turned on. I was like, why do they even have this? It's so crazy. All right, I'm adjusting this cord out of the way.
Oh, I love seeing all the gems cut off the strands and put in that wooden tray. They look really special there.
Yeah, I think they look good. That's for salt. I often repurpose my stuff. I'm just going to unplug this.
Cool. All right. So we're going to learn how to do a tassel, bringing together the gems.
Tassel.
Cool.
So there's going to be a chain tassel that we'll be doing. All right. Sorry, that's
and if you want to put those little red wax pieces to the side, we'll have to later. We'll tell people more about what that is. A little secret for now.
All right. So here's what we have going on. This is the kyanite we were talking about. Let's take a closer look. We aim this light a little more on there. There we go.
Yeah, those are the kyanite sticks.
You can find these in creek beds around Asheville.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they're usually paler, but it looks just like this.
Mm-hmm.
But not a lot of it, because otherwise my pockets would be bulging.
Yeah, they have good texture, but I'd actually say they're still fairly soft to the touch. They made it so there's not sharp edges.
Oh yeah, what I'm talking about, they're they're like in a rock formation,
Oh yeah.
You can't really, it's smooth, but these are like high grade, or that color.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. So we got those. Yeah, and we have the amethyst there.
These are really pretty. They're faceted. They have a good shine and a good color. Really pretty. And you know what I like the best is they are drilled where I can use the kind of head pins that I like. Because sometimes, it's kind of a nuisance to you have different sizes of head pins.
Yeah.
You don't want to have too many sizes to have to deal with and wrangle. All right, so here we go. All right, so this is the bead, and to make a tassel, the way I make a tassel, there's two ways you can go about this. You can make a loop, which I will do here. I have some, I think this is, what is this gauge of wire? It is, actually I could use a little bit thicker wire. Probably like 26 or 24. And you can make a loop on the bottom and connect. So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing a mixed metal. Do you think I should go a little closer?
Yeah, I think that could help.
You can use them from your side, just a hair?
I don't think so. But, I mean, you're also going to be lifting it up once you start working with it.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so you can make a loop that you connect from the bottom. From the bottom of the bead, you can make a loop with wire and attach various charms. And by charm, I mean wire-wrapped components. So what I'm going to do now is connect this little piece of chain here with this wire. I'm going to make a loop first.
So you said you're using like a 24 or 26, but it could also work to do something thicker for this.
Yeah, that'd even be better.
Yeah.
If I had something, I'm looking around now and see if I have something thick that would suit my purposes. All right, let me just check around right here.
Yeah, no problem.
Look at my chain, or my wire, I should say. Well, for now, we can just do this.
Oh,
and it can be redone. And here's another thing. If you have a wire that you're like, wow, that really is not as that wire doesn't have as much density as I want, you can wrap it. It's a wire wrapping technique by using another shape of wire that is thinner, like 28 gauge, and then wrapping all around your thinner wire, and you can beef it up. Say you don't have, if you want to use like 12 gauge or something, like really thick, and you don't have it, you can wrap this wire with another wire all the way around. If you have like really thin, you can make it work. There's always a kind of a, I don't want to say a cheat because it's not a cheat. It's just a way to use what you have.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make right here, and I think I'll do that because I like that concept. So what I'm doing here is just making a wrap this is going to run through this bead. So I'm going to make this, it doesn't have to be perfect down here because it's going to be hidden inside of the owl. Now, is that close enough? Do you like it right here? Is that good? Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah, when you held it up high, it definitely looks good.
Yeah, that's ever the thing with is getting the sweet spot where you're in focus. And you can see I'm looking at my screen, and that's what makes it a little tiny bit tricky. Okay. I have my favorite pliers, and I don't know where they went. You ever have a favorite pair of pliers?
Oh, of course. It has the retention, everything.
So one thing I like to do too, if I'm not going to wrap this, well, I am going to do, you can work harden it a little more by taking the flat part of your pliers and flattening it a little bit, and it kind of gives it a faceted look, and then it's also not as bendy. If that's the case. So for this project, if you have it, get a thicker wire. It's so we're not going to do this quite yet because I don't want to have to deal with this the whole time I'm putting things on. So I'm going to add this at the last. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could add that a little bit tighter, and so it really is tucked up under. So I don't want to do a messy wrap for this. I want it to be a tidier wrap, and I want it to be on the inside of this. And what I'm doing is I'm using a different color wire here. You'll notice it is because this color here, this deep purple, the contrast color to it is this gold, this brass color. And this is like my contrast color that's going to kind of make things sort of pop a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, with mixed metals, it is pretty cool because you can wear it with any different color that you have on you. Say you wear gold, then you can it works together with that. So I'm just tidying this up so this will fit right inside that bead hole. And there we go. See?
Oh yeah, totally hidden.
Yeah, totally suctioned up right up in there.
Nice.
All right, so I don't need this until the end. So the next step of this is to look at what you have. So this is one of the things I was talking about of the design challenge. I have here this kyanite I've tucked in. See that little rhodochrosite? That's kind of a complement to the blue. It's almost orange, but it's not quite orange. It's like a pinky orangey, like a really warm pink. They're really pretty. So I have used a little tiny pewter spacer. I think you guys have some similar type things in your shop.
And yeah, we do. Yeah, we'll make sure to link some of the Zamak Greek spacer beads we have.
Perfect. All right, so what I like to do is I don't just start, you know, because that is kind of fun, but it also, that's where you can, if you're feeling experimental, that's perfect. But sometimes you want to just kind of lay it out a little bit and see how it's going to look. So I'm just taking these and laying them how I think I'm going to want them. And once I have a sort of pattern, because you can do it where it's all blues, all these are on the bottom, like this. You could be like, oh, these are here. Next layer is this.
Create a little layered cake.
Yeah, layered cake. See this with this chain. Now, another thing is you're kind of limited to the size of your links. So if you had something with great big links, you only need like this long. It's only like an inch of a chain. So you don't need to go, like, it doesn't need to be too, if you want a really full tassel, you might want 3 chains. And that would give you a super, full, kind of like a feather effect.
Yeah.
Now I am checking this out to see how this will look. Nothing's in stone yet, so.
Yep, we're in the design phase, the creativity phase.
And I think it would be better if they were mixed. So let's see how that looks.
Yeah, I'm curious.
And I make piles. So I don't know how other folks work, but I love to make a little pile. Just a little something, something right there. And I think, okay, so I love that. That makes me think of like a grape cluster or something, with that. And these...
Did you lay the owl near the top of it?
So the owl will be sitting on top of this.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So what this tells me is that I need to make sure that this component has a short stem on it, or the bail is short. So when I make these, I need to make sure that I keep that in mind. So it's tucked up in there, fluffing these guys out. All right, ready to go.
Cool.
I have the design, I have the idea. Let's make it happen. All right, we'll add the first one on here. Okay, so what I did with this is I wrapped through here, wrapped around the top, and then added some beads. So I will show how that is done.
Perfect.
And we will go and just keep adding. This one is a little trickier because when you're looking at it, the initial thing you want to do is you're like, okay, what am I going to do? I could wrap this with I can wrap it or do like a horizontal wrap around it, like a belt. And I think I want a little smaller. So I'm going to get in here and hunt for the ones that have, because there are different shapes too. So the fun part is finding ones that have either a similar shape, like this one has a little bit different shape, and I might save that one for a different type project. but I'm looking for the ones that have a similar-ish shape. They don't have to be the same, but like the same configuration, so it's a little easier to design around. Ooh, I like this great big one. Look at this one. That's a juicy.
Oh wow,
It's a good one.
glorious.
Yeah, I like the natural kind of texture, you know. Oh, I like that one too. This one is a little more see-through. I like that too. So I'm picking out my stones because they're all different. They're all unique. And that is kind of the charm of these kyanite sticks. I like that one too. So you can see I'm kind of picking the most rough ones out. That's what I'm drawn to. These would make good earrings because when the light shines through them, it's really, really delightful. And I like that one too. This one for sure. I'll do that one first. Okay, so there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can wrap it this way, like a belt. But I like that kind of more minimal look, like how it's kind of, you're seeing more of it than if I were to do a continuous wrap.
Yeah, you don't want the wire to cover too much of this bead, is your goal.
You want to keep it where you can see all that goodness.
Yeah.
Now I'm holding, see, look how these are a little pair of bent nose, needle tip bent nose, and that snugs right in there. Because you don't want to, say you have a softer stone, you don't want to depend on your, like just wrapping it and then taking the chance of chipping your own stone, which can happen if you just, go in and, where's those little pliers? Here we go. Make that tidy. And now I've added on this. I've added a little spacer and a rhodochrosite. Let's see what it looks like without the spacer. Sometimes it's fun to experiment and just see. I think the shape of this is something that we want to have. I mean, that's pretty too without it. But I like it better with it. How do you feel about it?
I love them both.
Yeah, I will say bringing the pewter spacer in is good because it's like a callback. You have a little bit of silver here. The bead itself is silver. You could do a silver chain or half silver, half bronze, or brass, however you want to do it. You could do a silver chain with brass dangles on the chain. There's a lot of possibilities. But what you want to do, if you're going to use mixed metals, the key to using it successfully is not to just have it in one spot. You want to kind of spread it around where you can, it's like seasoning, where you're giving it just enough so it has enough flavor, and it's not like, why is that, like, it's like someone putting randomly lavender in something and you don't see it anywhere else, and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on with this? You want to give it a little bit of, we could put it on the top or bottom. I'll do it on the bottom. I think that'll look good. And then add it to the chain. Now this chain has a wide loop. So I'm going to add it to the bottom. It's the longest piece here. It's a pretty long chain. So this is going to be already, this pendant is going to be pretty long. And I was saying earlier that you could make it detachable. And if you've ever seen those, it's kind of like a clasp, but it's like a lobster claw would do. If you wanted to take off the charm and put it on something else, that's possible too, and that's kind of fun. So again, I'm giving it a little smash. It's almost like making it decorative, but what it's doing is it's work hardening. When I smash down, I'm work hardening that piece.
And yeah, if you're able to keep holding it high up is definitely helpful.
Okay, so there's one.
Cool.
All right, let's do some more. Now I have a choice here. I can say, do I want to go and put this guy in there, snug that right in, and I can put it on, I can loop it into this spot, or I can loop it onto the next section. The closer you make it, the more full your piece will be, right? So I'm going to, I think, add that there, but I'm going to add one of these guys. So I did one earlier just to check it out and see what it looked like. I think it'll look good, kind of like fruit almost, you know, like it's like dangling down. That's kind of reminds me of that pear shape. All right, so I did one already. This one is this little Amazonite briolette is pretty cute. This wire is from Parawire, and it has a pretty good sheen and flexibility that makes it easy to work with. If you have a wire that's really stiff, it can be kind of hard on your hands. I tend to like a softer wire, and then I like to give it a little twist to work harden it, or like the smashing technique I just showed you, where you're giving it a little squeeze.
And we're still using like the 24 gauge size.
Yeah, this is, or maybe it's, let's see. Yes.
Okay.
I tend to use this, like, I have a bunch of wire, but I tend to reach for the same stuff over and over and over, whether it's appropriate or not. I don't know. I will make it work, you know, like I was just saying, if you don't, like, I have a lot of experience working because I tend to want to use the finer wire because it's easier on my hands, and then I'll just keep wrapping it, you know, like you see, as every time I wrap this part is no longer, I mean, it's, you see that there's no, the bend is gone. And so I like to do a wrap that keeps going and going and going. But that is, if you do it long enough, you can do it where it's like a spring. We can do a couple and see what looks good. And remember, that took me like a minute. And if I didn't like it, you can just cut it off and redo it.
True.
It's no big deal. Wire, especially if it's not silver, and even if it was silver, it's not that much wire. It was only like an inch. You could even do it where it comes down and covers the top. But that way lies where you kind of have to have a little bit of finesse, because if you go over, there's a possibility that you can kind of inadvertently crack the stone. So you have to be careful with that maneuver. All right, so there's two, looking cute. And the other reason I just gave it that is you're bringing back that color of the gold. So what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to get any one color to dominate as far as the metal. We're trying to get this, your stone colors, to shine. And you don't want it to be like one thing kind of looking like it's an afterthought. That's the last part that we don't want that to look like. You know what I mean? You don't want to look like you just ran out of ingredients.
I am already loving this. Like, there's only 2 beads on it, but I'm like, oh, this is totally my vibe. It's a little bit boho, eclectic, and just so pretty.
You know, I do a lot of markets, and I tell you, people are really drawn, I think, to pieces that have that kind of boho flavor, you know, a little that detail.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put everything, right now I'm putting everything on that last loop.
And this time we're using a head pin, right?
Oh yeah, sorry. This is a head pin.
No,
this is also the same type of material.
Yeah, you've got a daisy spacer there.
And
so you've got more of the mixed metal.
Yeah, so that, I feel like those work. You can use silver, you can use whatever color you like. You could also do this where you're using all the same metal and you don't shift the colors, and that's fine too. Sometimes I like to paint them with vintage paints, or I'll do like a finish on them. This wire is soft enough where I can, you know, you can see that I'm using my fingers to just bend it around. It's very soft. This one's kind of tight, so I don't want to really mess with trying to get, well, maybe I can tuck that in there. And there it goes. And then I'll give it a little smush.
I like that tip, especially since this is a thinner gauge wire. Just do that extra bit to make your loops a little harder. They'll make them, keep their shape.
Well, you know, on something like this, what did I do here? Why is this tangled? What happened? I dropped it, and then
Let's see.
Because I did not need to add at that point. I did not.
Oh, wait. Did it get in? Maybe it looped into something extra? What happened?
It looks like it got caught on. Like, how did I do this?
It might be hooked into 2 loops. That purple
That's
one.
what it looks like. It looks like I have made a circle.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that before at all.
How did I do that? Did I actually do that?
You might just have to cut it off.
What in the hey? I can tell you that's a first. It's like a magic trick.
Yeah.
Where I drop it and then I'm suddenly looping on. I think I did that, so I'm gonna have to cut that one off. I can't believe I just did that. That's a first.
Oh, that's funny.
I drop it and then I'm like, hey, I'm gonna loop this through 2. So my big mistake on this was adding this first because I was trying to illustrate how this was going to go through, and I didn't need to add that big wire.
Do that. I mean, you can cut it off if you want. If it's too much in the way.
Yeah, you just cut that thing off because I don't at this point need it, and it's kind of hindering me.
Problems.
It's causing the problems. We know that we need to do, and it's also massively long.
Yeah,
so
we'll come back to that.
Long. Doesn't need to be there. All right. Where'd that thing go? Here we go.
Take 2. Sounds good.
Take 2. Here we go. And then, of course, it's like, okay, take 3 because I can't, for some reason, it's like, I can't get it off,
can't get it off the wire.
We'll get there eventually. All right, here we go. Round 2. Keep your stuff straight. Don't drop it and then pick it up and keep going. Because I think that's what happened. Is it before I dropped it, before I completed the loop, and then completed the loop without checking. Okay, so these are brass head pins, and I'm making this part short because I want them to be snug right up against here to fluff out all these other pieces. You know what else that I do is sometimes I'll complete these before I add them to the chain, and then then I'm like, oh, well, I just made some really pretty dangles for something else.
Oh yeah, that's easy to do, to close the loop and you haven't hooked it on yet.
I don't know how many millions of times I've done that, not that number.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm doing something else, 2 things at once, watching TV. Okay, what side do I want this on? So this chain has a direction, and it will lay. These pieces can't really change position. So I want it to sit on this side of that. So I'm putting it on now, laying it down, and then I'm going to close it. Yeah, I like making a tassel. It's one of my favorite things, is making the tassels.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's fun because then you can put them on bracelets. There's lots of fun uses. You can make purse tassels if you make it bigger.
True, yeah.
You just need to get like a carabiner to put it on. Go in there with pom-poms. Now I'm getting
you're right. It can be necklace, earrings, bracelet, charm, whatever. You can use your tassel wherever.
So here it is already with only 3 beads.
Cute.
All right, let's do another layer. So that's how that looks so far. Let's add some more. So see how I have it on that? Let me see if I can show that a little bit better. A little closer. The direction of this chain, you can see they're all like they're not going to really move around because this chain it lays flat. So the next one I'll put on this chain here. I can also utilize the chain that's running from the other side. See, it's like a vertical. You can also go into those. So I can now choose to change the configuration and use like spacers with it, a different spacer. I could put one of those on top, but I think what I'll do is use, let me see, which one of these do I like on there? Oh, this is already done, so let's get that one on there. Cluttering up the scene. Okay, those are on my put on pile, and I can choose how many of those I want. Is this a kit you have going, or are these just ones you had in your collection that we were just being experimental with?
Yeah, that's what it is. We chose a few beads. Some of them are brand new that we're launching in the shop. Some are some restocks. So folks can buy all 4 of the gems we're showing off today, or they can pick and choose their favorites.
That's good. Yeah, these are pretty. I particularly like the kyanite. All right, this one is, let me see, I'm going to put this one. Now, depending on how I want this to lay, one of the things when you're making a tassel is you have to think about how it's going to, when it's not laying down, because it's not how it's going to be, you're not going to wear it laying down. It's going to be kind of 3-dimensional, and it's going to, these things are going to scooch around. So this is probably, if I lay this here, it will most likely be under this spot like that. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to go on this side. See, because there's space here. You see that? There's a little bit of space. So that will be good. And then I'll switch sides with this.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like this is also good fidget jewelry. So when you wear it, you can kind of like, it's easy to just kind of fidget with, to remind yourself what beads you included. And that way you can also kind of change how it looks, because every time you hit it and move it around, the beads lay differently in different orders a little bit. Changes the look.
Yeah, it'll have a nice, like a little bit of a sound too.
Yeah, like a wind chime.
It'll be a sweet kind of rustling. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Just making that a little thicker to imitate the wrap that I did on the Amazonite. We'll tuck in the ends. Give it a smush. Okay, let's check how it's laying. Not too heavy. You don't want these things to get super heavy either, so it's good to give it a little. That's what we have so far. And I'm going to put another one on the other side.
And I know you're laying it flat so we can see it, but if you were just designing on your own, it does make sense to hold it up and look straight at it, right? So you can.
Oh, sure, because it's not gonna lay. It's when you're working with it, it's gonna have a, these are gonna move aside for each other.
Yeah.
And so what I'm doing now is I'm looking at this and seeing where I need to put the next one. And I think I would like to put a purple one on the next one rung up, but another one of those Amazonites behind the amethyst would be pretty, I think. So I'm going to grab a wire here. All right. And I'm holding, I like to do where I hold on to this part here so I'm not stressing the briolette edge. Because sometimes you can crack the edge. If you were just to use pressure and the wire is putting pressure on it, then you could actually snap the top off of your briolette. So you don't want to do that. I don't have my favorite pliers. I don't know what happened to them. go hunt them. They're actually like crimping pliers, but they have that round notch on the inside. They're so good for wire wrapping.
Are they the Zuron green one? Like I think they have the green
They're
handle.
green. They're
Yeah.
green. They have the notches. They're different, and I
Yeah,
can just go in and
it's like the
squeeze that one.
2-in-1. It's the 2-in-1 Zuron crimper. I know that one. Yeah, Sam is obsessed with that one too.
He likes those.
Yeah, because like it's a crimper, but the end of it is also basically a flat nose plier.
Mm-hmm. Good times. That's a good. I don't know who came up with it, but I love it. So I'm gonna tuck this one right in here. And I'm going to cover this wrap with this extra wire. Because then it's kind of like, it's part of my design element. Is this little bit of color. Don't want to wrap too close to the, I mean, I can wrap close, but you see I'm getting close to this part. It gets to, I can feel it kind of getting tight, and I don't want it to be too tight where I snap my stone.
Yeah. Yeah, briolets are a little more fragile. The hole is, much closer to the edge of the bead than a typical round bead, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't have all that extra on the sides. You have this little bit hanging it on. It's real close to the edge.
You have to be careful there.
Mm-hmm. It's not, I don't think of it as like one that if you're learning to make jewelry, you don't start with briolets. You practice your wraps first with some easier shapes and then move up to briolets, I feel like. It's like an advanced stone. Well, maybe not advanced, more intermediate.
Yeah. Oh, it's
So
starting to get chunky
so far. Looking pretty good, huh?
Oh yeah, it's looking. I like that it's getting the tassel's getting chunkier, bigger for sure.
Now you can also, one thing that you can do, I'm kind of tempted to put another one, but I need to put another of these grapes on there. They remind me of is like a little grape.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that batch that we got. I'm just like, that is the best amethyst color. Incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're very saturated, pretty purple.
Yeah, totally natural. These are not dyed. No, not at all.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico on an Air Force base, and I used to drag my wagon to the officers' club and pile up the stones. They had these round stones, and we called them thunder eggs, and we'd bust them open along the sidewalk. So we called them thunder eggs, and they made a great big loud noise when we rammed them against the pavement. And you would get, it wasn't this color. It was similar, but not quite that saturated. It was and that was inside these stones. It was kind of cool. Those geodes. I didn't know what they were called back then. All right, I'm going to tuck this one on the opposite side. Give it a twist. I'm going to hold on to that and get in there with these bent nose. These are such good bent nose pliers because they can get in where you can hardly reach.
Yeah, Zuron makes such good tools. That's another Zuron plier.
Yeah, I miss going to the shows because they would always stop by and be like, "Hey, Cynthia, you want to try our new pliers?" And I'd be like, "Heck yes, I do." And I would be lucky and they would give me the new pliers.
Wonderful. So yeah, you do a lot of shows in the summer, right? Are you in show season?
We do festivals. I just finished the Honey Fest and that really knocked me down flat. And I got to try all different kinds of honey, but it's just one of those things, when you're talking and standing. What happened is I didn't drink enough water, and that's like and I ended up getting dehydrated. So I did it.
Is that one local to you? That event?
Yeah,
it's local.
Yeah, right close to where I live. So it was nice. I didn't have to go anywhere. So already, I don't know if you can hear this, but listen. Very
I can hear
satisfying.
it. Yeah.
Very satisfying. So I can check it, and I don't have to use all this chain. If I think it's too much, I could actually fold it down, right, like that, and make it more full and less long. You see what I mean? I could go
Yeah.
in and stop here, right at the top, and then add to this part of the chain, and then you won't even be able, you wouldn't see it necessarily as two pieces of chain. It would just look and be like one tassel, but it would be fuller rather than longer.
Yeah.
So I might do that. And
Yeah.
that's,
I don't know if I've
if
seen
you
that. I
look at
like that
it,
idea. But I
you know,
guess it just depends. We're using a little, the owl's probably the smaller, yeah, it's the smallest of the beads we're launching today. So yeah, I'm curious kind of what balance you like. Because I could see it either way. You can make this very long or make it short. Both
yeah, you
could
see what
work.
I mean? Like I can fill this up, or I can trim it here and make it, I'm not obligated to use this. And I could just,
No.
these are, that chain can just, I just cut that just to see what it would look like. But, I'm not, I could always cut it in half. I could bend it. So as I look at this, I'm kind of thinking I like it a little bit shorter, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have to, have it where it's super long. So I may just end it where I put another few, but I layer them throughout. There's plenty of room. You can see that there's a lot of room still in between. And what I'm going to do is tuck in smaller pieces of this kyanite in. It's my favorite part of it. I think what I'll do is one more of these guys. I'll find one that's a little lighter. This is a lighter. There's a lot of variation in these. You can see,
True.
like, they look the same, but this one seems a little bit lighter to me. Or no, it's this. Yeah, that's a little bit lighter. We'll take that one right there. I mean, it's a natural stone, so you will have variation.
It's almost becoming like the nest of the owl that it's perched on.
Yeah, that's cute. I like that story. Use that. So here's what I have so far, and I could keep it in threes. That might be good.
Oh, 3 of each bead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
I think it's very cool.
I think it'll be real pretty. And if I make the bail, so I have wire that is pretty thick that can go through, and you can get decorative wire. I have silver wire that is a square wire. You could use that. That could give you a look that looks like vines. So to attach that, so there's a lot of opportunity to kind of change it up and utilize interesting ingredients for your piece. I'm glad these are nice and beautifully drilled. Sometimes it can be a real tedious to work with stones and then have the wrong wire or have not the right stuff. Now here's I could show how to do one. I don't know if I want to do that belt because it's kind of fragile through here. Sometimes if you try to make the belt look where it's wrapping across, you can actually break the stone. So that's kind of, I'm going to give this one a little more room so that I'm not in the danger zone of.
Are you able to hold that up a little higher?
Sure.
Cool. Yeah, you didn't give yourself too much to work with there.
No, I'm going to go back over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. There we go. So it's going to run like that.
But yeah, that was smart to have that space. You don't want to accidentally have your pliers slide and just press right down on the tip of that.
Yeah. How many times have I done that?
It's easy to do.
Checking it. Now, I might go in. One of my pliers has some kind of, like it's got, I keep finding black, and I'm like, oh, that must be like one of these pliers has I dipped it in Plasti Dip. That's one of my things. I'll dip the tip in Plasti Dip to avoid marring like silver.
Oh,
so that's
okay.
something. Yeah, have you seen that? It's called plastic. You can get it in a can. So a lot of times you can take that if you're working with fine wire, you can get in there with tape. That's the old school way, is tape. But now they have a product called Plasti Dip, and you can dip your pliers, and then but it comes off eventually, and it's
Yeah.
like rubber. And so, let me see how this looks. I might not have. You're right. I might not have given it enough room.
Oh, I was just saying that you were having to get your plier on just that tiny little end as you were wrapping it around. That's just hard to do.
All right, I think that'll look fine. Yeah, so you get a hint of the rhodochrosite in there. And you know what else would be cute is to go in with teeny little head pins and add some around the piece. But they kind of get, maybe, you know what would be good is if it were on the chain. That might be pretty, like higher up on the chain.
Oh, okay, yeah. Have like a mini cluster of them at the top.
More like
Or what do
on
you
the
mean?
chain itself. That might be good. You know, like, say if you're going to use chain. I got this chain out just to test what it would look like, you know. But this
Like
could be
have it
put
be
on
part of the
anything.
chain?
Yeah, you could even do it on the chain because that would bring that color back. You
Yeah.
know, if you were to put it, say you had these guys like, this is some paper clip chain that I had laying around that I thought might be pretty. It's a little short for this necklace, but like have it where it's like this. You have some that are like going up the chain.
And are you saying on head pins or as double like
You
loops
can
on
do
both
head
sides?
pins.
Yeah. Okay.
You can
That's
do head
cute. I
pins.
like that.
That's a
Little pops of
possibility.
pink.
Yeah, little tiny pops of pink. Let's see how it looks so far. You see how
Wow.
what I'm talking about? You could add that.
Yeah.
But as is, I like it so far. This could be a ribbon too, if you don't like the feeling of chain. Some people don't like the feeling of chain, and they prefer silk or leather or cord of some kind. And this little thing could be, that would make a adorable purse chain or purse charm. You know, I
Mhm.
have them on my bag, and I hook it onto the D loop on my bag, and I think it looks sweet. It's like a little extra detail. I want to add a couple more of these beads, and then I'm going to trim it. I think I'll trim it. I'll add some to fill it out right in here.
Sounds good.
Looking fresh. I'm making my loops small depending on where you put your, if you want to make an itty bitty loop, you go at the tip top. If you want to make a big old wide loop, you go further down. That's what's the good part about these pliers. Tronex. I didn't notice. Made in the USA. I got these at Bead and Button one year. They gave me, you know, that's my favorite part is that I get the samples sometimes.
Yeah.
Good times. Good times. Where do I want to hang that baby? Probably right here. I don't want this to be too long. I realize that I like it a little bit more on the squat side, just because I think it kind of echoes the shape of the owl. You know. You have any fun trips coming up?
Ooh. I've done one camping trip so far. I love to do camping in the summer. I went nearby to the Russian River, which is really
Ooh.
beautiful and lovely to swim in, and plan to do a couple other camping trips this summer around California coast or a little inland, but all staying here in the state because there's just so much you can drive to within 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my plan. How about you?
You know, I might go see my mom. She's in Orlando, but I don't know if you know anything about Florida. It's like the surface of the sun in the
Yeah, that might
summertime.
be hard in the middle of summer.
Yeah, I don't love it. I don't love it.
Yeah.
She just loves the heat, and I'm like, come on, come to Asheville instead. She won't have it. She's just like, nah, I don't want to go. So I have to go see her.
I do need to get to Asheville at some point. I mean, it just seems like there's just so many artists there, right? So many people working
It's
in
a
all
pretty
different types of
dreamy.
mediums.
It's a good town, you know, a real community. I feel like.
Hmm.
I feel like it's easy to make friends here.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, people are outgoing, they're friendly.
You know, they kind of are. I don't know if it's because we're sitting on a bunch of quartz crystals or what, but you know, it's really, you know, it's
Yeah,
real mountainous here.
everyone's just so happy to be there, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know, but there's a lot of musicians and artists.
And is it a lot busier there, like in the summer? Is that like when you get a lot more tourists, or is it?
Yeah. Right now we don't have as many tourists as we usually do because of Helene. It came in and
Yeah.
messed up a bunch of stuff. But you know, in a lot of places you'd never even know it. You know, you'd have to kind of go and find the areas that were severely affected. All right, where do I want to set that one down? You see, now at this point, you know, it's getting kind of crowded on here.
Yeah, there's a
So,
lot going on.
yeah, there's a lot. So that's why I was
I
saying, I
guess
was like, it's getting kind of busy. So I'm going to, where am I going to tuck that one in? Maybe I'm going to tuck it in right under this one. And the more you add, you work from the bottom up. And the more you add, the harder it is to see what you're doing. And the easier it is to kind of, you know, make a little bit of a mistake and accidentally smash your pliers down on a bead. You don't want to do
oh
that. But
yeah.
it's easy
You
when
have to
they're,
be a
see
little
how
more
look how the
careful.
bead kind of, it's like trying to get in there.
Yeah.
So it's like, then it becomes where you're going to go in with some finesse and trying to like tuck in all your stray wires, but being careful not to inadvertently crack a stone. And also you got to tuck in your ends because if you're wearing a sweater or something, you don't want the end of your wire to catch on any kind of like
Yeah, any of the
sweater.
fibers. Yeah.
So I think I'm going to cut this loop here.
Okay.
Making sure I'm cutting the right one.
Yes.
I've done that maneuver also. Okay, so that's the end of this
Cool.
little stack of goodness. Now I'm going to lay it carefully and I'm going to get you see, what do I want to get? I had some big tall ones over here. I might use one of these and see if that's long enough because this is, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, maybe I'll just use some of this. Good idea. Because I have all this brass wire. Now I'm going to switch over and I have some silver wire that is, so this is square wire and this is decorative and it's designed for doing wire wraps specifically because it's like faceted almost. Now this is also really, really squishy, I guess. It's like it's dead soft, meaning it's fine silver, but it's really easily bent. So you have to be very careful not to make any inadvertent bends because the more you bend it, the stiffer it gets. That's because you're work hardening it. So I'm working as carefully as I can to not inadvertently ding it up because it's really easy to ding up.
Okay.
And the more you manipulate, the firmer. So I want to make my wraps count. Okay, find the end. Now this one will not be tucked in because I've used it. I'm using a decorative wire, so I'm just going to basically show off my decorative wire. Go through only the top and not through any of the other loops. Now with this stuff, you got to be mindful because it's soft and you don't want to mar it. So that's what I was saying. If you had Plasti Dip, sometimes I've used Plasti Dip. It's come off of this one. I need to re-dip it. But it's really easy. See, look how easy this is for this. I could bend it with one finger. But as I bend it, it gets stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. And so I'm making a little loop. I'm thinking it's like a vine. That's what I'm picturing. It's like a little vine. So I'm going to go that far, and then I'm going to wrap it back around with a little... and use this to get a curl. Oops. I'll get a little curl here. A little decorative curl.
Ooh, cool.
I'm going to bend it in front. Now, obviously, you don't have to get wild with your, like, you know, you could just go in straight up with, and you don't have to add extra.
Oh, I like that idea.
It looks pretty. See that? It's easy. Okay, straighten that out. And now to make the next loop. A little bit bigger to accommodate this chain, but not too big. I'm working very gingerly because I do not want to bother this.
And you're not putting it right onto the chain then?
No, I'm going to do it so I can change it if I want to. If that is a, you know, if you wanted to change it out, you want to make the loop big enough. Now, hopefully I've done that. Let's see.
Oh, it's going to just hang on it. Got it.
Now, of course, I made that change. Shoot. So I'm going to have to take off that jump ring. That's easy to do. Okay, now that fits. If I want to remove it, I could remove it. I could also put a decorative clasp that I could, like a carabiner. Have you seen those?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where they're like, it's like a split ring that has you can change it out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's different, you could use a lobster clasp even, or part of a toggle or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm being very careful not to get too, I want it to be kind of decorative.
Yeah.
So this is a good part to use that Plasti Dip or masking tape you can use on it to keep your, you don't want to sit here and keep smashing on it and then you see this, the chain get, the wire looks like it's been chewed on.
Oh, it looks so magical.
If I want to keep this on here forever and always, that's also an opportunity to put little dangles from the chain itself. That's you know, that's a design element that I can choose, and that'll keep the chain from wiggling around too much where the clasp goes in the front. You know how sometimes that happens where your clasp will travel to the front?
Yeah.
Now smashing this good because I don't want to have to keep removing it. I'll probably just leave it on there.
Here we go.
How do you feel?
So magical. It's so fun.
I think it looks good, huh?
Oh, it's great. I love all the pops of color, the mixed metal.
And
It'll
then the
just feel
sound it
advanced
makes.
as you wear it.
So as you wear it,
That's pretty. And yeah, you
I
could
think,
do this with any of your bead designs. Like
yeah,
I mean, this is really flexible design.
I think that it's one of my favorites. I love doing a tassel. You can do them as earrings, if you have small gemstones, and the bigger ones work as well. Like I was saying, you can put the carabiner, not a carabiner, but it's like a small loop, spring clasp
Hmm.
loop that's bigger that you can change it. And that way if you wanted to put it as a purse charm or a bag charm, you could do that. That's pretty popular around here. Or you could do a cord loop and use the cord loop that's about like 2 inches and you have it tied. It's kind of like a Japanese style where then you can add it to a belt. And I've seen a lot of kids around Asheville doing that one. So I feel like this was pretty successful. What
I
do you
think
think?
so.
There we
Well,
go.
I would love to have you try it on, but before we do that, can we just quickly show people what those red wax pieces were? Because
Oh, sure.
I don't think everyone knows how you design these pieces. So how does this piece like the owl, where does this come from?
All right. So, on my lives, I do them on Wednesday nights at 7 Eastern Time. Many of the times, I will show a demonstration of how I make these. This is called the master, or it's a prototype. And this is not from a mold. This is from when I was working on this. This was a solid sheet, and I cut out the pieces with a couple of tools, and I used heat and manipulated the wax. I basically carved it with hand, like different files and small tools to get to this. And this is called jeweler's wax. It's a flexible. See, it's flexible. You couldn't do this with polymer clay. I used to make my masters with polymer, and from this, you make another mold. You make a mold in silicone, and from that silicone, you put in what's called injection wax, and you inject the mold with that molten wax, and you get copies that look just like
Uh-huh.
this. And from that copy, sometimes there's flash, or there'll be like little areas that you have to clean up around the edges. The flash is like where it's overfilled the mold. You go along and
Okay.
clean it up. And then you make what's called a tree. And you take that, like the piece that you've made from the mold, and you attach it to another rod of silver or rod of wax and make what's called an investment mold. And from that mold, you put it in the kiln and you burn out the wax, and that's why you have something called a lost wax casting. So once the wax has gone out of this plaster mold, you can then fill that mold with molten silver, gold, bronze, shibuichi, copper, brass, whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then after you've poured the molten metal in, you crack the plaster open, and you have what replaces it is a perfect metal copy. And then you clean up the
Incredible.
edges, and there you go. Pewter's a little bit different story. You have to make all that I have just mentioned, and then you make another mold from your metal, because you can't. You
Oh.
have to use a metal mold to make a pewter mold, which is like called vulcanized rubber, and it's like tire rubber, and it can withstand high heat temperatures. So that's what we use to pour molten pewter in. So you have to go through this step, the whole process of lost wax casting to get to the point where you can make pewter molds, which is called a centrifugal mold. This is
Oh.
I'm making a matching clasp. This is a button clasp. And so it's a little mermaid holding a seal. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm thinking I would like to have these made in Greece, because they have a lot of plating options, and I don't want to do plating. It's just another thing to do. But
Yeah.
here's a necklace showing how this type of clasp works. So this is a necklace I made a couple weeks ago. And this is a little salamander. It's pewter. And look, his little feet. So cute.
Oh,
And I've
okay. So
used
it's like
his
it's like
tails.
a button clasp without a shank.
There's a button. It's without the shank. So you have a smoother. It's more.
Huh.
So this is going along with my idea of making things kind of like sculpture. So when you hold it in your hand, you're not immediately like, oh, that's a button. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's not a button until you have made it a button. But look how
true.
easy it works.
You are always inventing and coming up with new things. Oh,
Oh,
beat train
yes,
coming
I
through.
like to. So that's how that works. It's pretty easy to maneuver. So after I just developed this, I thought, hey, you know what else has a similar shape? Is a mermaid. And she's going to have a little fat seal she's clutching. So this is the first step to making the metal pieces that you see that is in all of our collection.
And right now, your pieces, I know you're talking about getting some stuff made in Greece, but like these owls, these pieces we're launching, you make them in your studio, right?
Yeah, we
You're
make them
doing that.
in our workshop downstairs. Everything is made here on premises. And it's just a lot of fun to have that control. And I say fun, but if you've ever run, like, running a business and having
Yeah.
control of your supply is pretty important because, I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about tariffs because I'm my own source.
Yeah, you are making your pieces from scratch. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the only thing I have to
Well,
worry
I want
about
to
is I
see.
can't get the metal. You know what I mean? The metal
Yeah,
would be for me where I'm held up.
yeah. Can we see
So,
this on? I'll
yeah,
take
let
your
me flip
camera away
this
for a
on and I
moment.
will let me flip my camera.
Okay, let's see. Oops. All right. All right, okay, she's off the screen for a moment. But here's just a reminder, and I have a question for everyone. Which of these pieces would you want to turn into a into a tassel necklace? So before we show the final review, I'd love to know if folks, if you're watching this live, wait till the video is over and refresh the screen so you can get to the comments of the video. You can't comment, you can only chat in the live chat right now. But once our videos done premiering, you can comment and let us know which one you would want to make this tassel necklace with. Would you choose this fairy? Would you go with the owl? Would you go with this castle, the swirls, or the dragonfly? We're going to be doing some giveaways over the next couple weeks to folks who comment on our classes. So make sure you comment and answer to my question of which one you would choose for making this design. So go ahead and comment that. And now let's see Cynthia's final piece. Let me make this bigger. Oh, wow. That's so beautiful.
And now that I'm looking at it, it would be really pretty
What?
is a knotted strand.
Ooh, of gems.
Did you picture it? I mean,
Yeah.
I picked this up and it was cut and the bead just went everywhere.
Oh, no. Excuse me.
But they didn't all. I only lost like six, or
Okay,
they're
that's
on.
good.
So if you can picture it,
A whole nother layer of them. Yes.
yeah. So these knotted would be, or wire wrapped. You could, if you had the gumption to wire wrap all those little pieces and put that
Yeah.
on, that'd be another way to bring back that pop of pink to another part of the necklace. So just some
What I,
ideas,
yeah.
and
What
I
I
hope
love
you.
about this design, you get it, like, I mean, it shows off the gemstones. They're getting to, but it also really gets to show off the owl. Like that's
Yeah.
the centerpiece. That's the focal above all of those gems. So I don't know, it puts everything front and center in a really beautiful way.
And you mentioned that this would be a good fidget type of design. Already, I'm enjoying, feeling it because it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's a little bit like I want to say I don't know why the word caterpillar popped into my head, but it's a little bit like like that texture. So I
Mhm.
would say make it long, make it long.
Yeah.
So that you can have that, while you're. I mean, I do that anyway. I love a long necklace and to begin with, but this is just the chain I had sitting out, so
Yeah.
it's not critical to use this chain, but the opportunity. I made that look pretty big. I could have made it a hair larger.
Okay.
Learn from my mistake. Make
Just
it
so
a
you have
little
more
bit
clicks.
larger so the bigger it is, the more things you could put it on. Like you could put
Yeah,
on
the
leather.
more types of chain. Yeah.
It just
I
opens
like you. Yeah, you could totally make this longer, but I also love the length that it is. I think that's
I feel
beautiful.
like there's a lot of I change my necklaces out too. So I love making it where because sometimes you have a your neckline. With this neckline, I think it needs to be a hair. It either needs to be. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
Shorter, or I don't like that, but I do like maybe a little bit longer. Could
It's
be.
like a
Could
half an inch maybe.
Yeah. Doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be down to my belt.
Right now, like the Amazonite's popping up, but like if you gave it a little twist, I'm sure we'd see more of the amethyst. Like it'll
Yeah,
kind of
that's
just
the fun part. Is like
it's
there,
gonna
you
keep
can get a little
changing.
bit more. You can get a little bit more, and it has a cute sound. It's like a subtle
Yeah.
susurrus. It's like leaves. Kind of like that.
Love it.
I don't know. If it was an earring, even, it's a little heavy. This would be heavy for an earring unless you have
Yeah.
like, you know, like
You
your
might need
lobes were
some smaller
not,
elements. Yeah.
you know, or really lightweight gemstones. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This is not. This has a lot of metal. I went kind of hog
Mhm.
wild with putting that big old wrap around each one. If you did smaller head pins or smaller little bits of wire, I think that that could work too.
Mhm. Totally. Well, thank you so much. I love that we got to learn this new technique, got to create these tassels that incorporate these artisan components. This is so special. Thank you, Cynthia.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me, Rachel. This was fun. I
Oh,
always love hanging out with you.
it's always so great. We always get so many good ideas. Got to give a couple shout outs. Let's see. I definitely want folks to check out the other classes that you teach. So folks can head over to your YouTube channel, right? If they want to find the different lives where you're making jewelry and teaching techniques on.
It's Green Girl Studios. Everything that we have, all of our social media is named Green Girl Studios. So we have an Instagram account that you can check out. We have a Facebook group called the Green Girl Studios Gang, and it's a place that you can drop pictures of your finished work or projects you're working on, and get support if you have
Yeah.
like a problem necklace or problem piece. You can be like, hey, what do y'all think? And that's kind of fun too, because sometimes you get stuck and you need advice, and that's a good
Mhm.
place to pop in and do that. We go live every week, Wednesday and Sunday, on Facebook, and on
On YouTube
YouTube. I don't
too.
know why. It's like, why did YouTube escape my brain? You just said it. But those are the two times we go, and we're also part of the Great Bead Extravaganza, and that's a pretty good group to resource for
Yeah.
lots of free content and ideas. So those are all good things to
Wonderful.
check out.
Yeah, please go and follow Cynthia to find out all the things she has going on. And then here at the shop, we'll have links down below the video if you want to purchase any of the gemstones or any of these Green Girl Studio pieces. We tried to stock these up pretty well, so take a look and see what we have left. And please join us for some more fun classes and live sales this month. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll talk to you later. Bye,
Bye bye.
everyone.